Grab some coffee, a Mountain Dew, maybe both. A storm is brewing. The Brainstorm. Welcome to The Brainstorm with Matt and Mike.
Hey, welcome to The Brainstorm. I'm here with my colleague and co-host Michael White. What's happening, Mike?
What's up, Matt?
Hey, man, we're going to discuss, as you know, Mike actually takes the responsibility of building a ton of our content, and he does a really good.
So if you love it, you can applaud me, and if you don't, then oh well.
Then it's Mike's fault. So you can blame Mike if you don't like it. But no, Mike builds a lot of our content, and so we also did another show where we're going to do very similar to today, where we take some famous quotes and we break those down and how it applies to someone's business or organization. Because everybody, as you said, everybody sees memes all the time on social media. It's so funny because Mike and I ate lunch today with Mike's son, who's 19, who is just a really, really fine young man. And he just does, he's so wants to learn, and he just puts so much effort towards learning and just moves towards trying to figure out how to do things really, really well. He does great. And I'm still shocked because he's Mike's son that he turned out to be so good.
You're not nearly as shocked as I am.
But what's so funny is we were talking about memes and seeing that. And so he asked me, I don't know if you heard him at the table. He said, you know what a meme is, right, Matt? And I was like, hey,
we're marketing.
I haven't spanked anybody in a long time. I'm about to spank a 19-year-old right here in this restaurant. I was like, you talking about a meme, right? It was
right.
A meme, not a
like
meme.
Like a grandmother?
Yeah. Anyway, so everybody sees these memes on famous quotes, and what we're going to do is apply them to your business and how that goes. So let's jump in, man. I'll start. Kim Garst, kind of an online marketer, social media marketer, she had a quote that I liked. It said, "Opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work."
Yeah, exactly.
How do you apply that to a business, Mike?
You know, what we hear today, people hear about things like Amazon. Of course, Amazon took quite some time to build, but they hear about these businesses that get started and it's like they think it's an overnight success.
Oh, yeah, just bang. Yeah.
And so that whole opportunity is missed because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. It's because people aren't willing to do the work. They want that immediate gratification, that participation trophy, and they think that they're just going to jump online and become YouTube famous, or, a YouTube content creator, or create some product and market it, and they're going to drive a Bugatti or whatever it is that I hear kids talking about today. And that's just not reality. People don't want to go do the work it takes to really build a successful business. And it takes sacrifice, it takes a long-term commitment, it takes vision, and it takes surrounding yourself with people who believe in you and will get behind you and support you and lift you when you're down. And it also takes just tenacity. Yeah.
So, man, you gave a lot of really good points in that answer, because you talked about a big team. Mm-hmm. It has to have a lot of team, even if they're not direct employment or direct effect of the business on a daily basis. Right. It could just be advocates and promoters of that brand, of that organization that you created. It could be a one-man business, or it could be a 30-person. It could be 300, 3,000 employees. It usually doesn't start that way. Entrepreneurs usually start with this idea. They usually fail at it a bunch of times, and then over time they usually land in somewhere that works, and over time can become successful. Mm-hmm. We certainly have had our struggles here in our early days, 14, 15 years ago, and we were getting going. And so we understand what that work looks like and what wearing those overalls look like each day.
No overalls doubt. Just get holes in them, that's all.
Exactly. All right, good stuff, man. What's the next one?
Okay, Matt, so you can kind of chime in on this one. If you think you're too small to have an impact, try going to bed with a mosquito in the room. So again, if you think you're too small to have an impact, try going to bed with a mosquito in the room.
Yeah, for some reason, I think I tried that last night, in fact. And so mosquitoes are really just starting to get out there and get going right now, and pollen like crazy. But we had this one, I don't know if it was a mosquito or just this gnat or just this bug that was just flying around last night. And I swear, I bet you it took so much concentration for this one little bug in the room. But man, yeah, I love that because you can apply that in your sales scenario. Is this mosquito is just what a mosquito does is consistency, right? It has definitely consistency and tenacity, and it just keeps getting after you. It's going to land somewhere, and it's going to take a bite somewhere, somehow, and so it just gets after you. But then, the consistency, not just on a sales perspective, but in your manufacturing, in your business processes. There's all types of application there that I like this quote to have. You're just never too small to make an impact.
One thing it reminds me of too, Matt, is oftentimes when you grow a business or you're in a more mature business. So let's just use a law firm as an example. Let's say that someone's a part of a massive law firm, and there's this one or two, attorney practice.
Right.
This applies in every industry.
Right, which a lot of law firms are small law firms like that.
And they'll dismiss this. It's like they're not even on their radar. They dismiss the smaller competitor as irrelevant, and oftentimes that's the ones who come back.
That's the ones, man.
Really put a spanking on.
Yeah, you're just never too small to make an impact. You can make an impact on your employees. Mm-hmm. You can then make an impact on your client base. You can then make an impact in your market share.
That's right.
You just have to keep getting after it. You have to do the right things at the right time. You have to participate. You have to show up. You have to go to networking events and grassroots events. You just have to be consistent in what you do, which is getting after it every single day. And over time, you will have a much bigger impact than what you might think you have.
That's right.
All right, hey, I got a really famous one for you here. Zig Ziglar.
Oh, boy.
For every sale you miss because you're too enthusiastic. So for every sale you miss because you're too enthusiastic, you will miss 100 because you're not enthusiastic enough.
Yeah, I mean, Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, I don't believe that he ever got told that he was just too positive.
No.
I definitely don't want Eeyore selling anything to me or with me.
Right.
It's just anytime someone has a negative attitude or woe is me, or it deflates the room. It deflates people who are around them. And over time, if someone's consistently that way, people don't want to be around them at all.
Right. That's right.
There are people who, on occasion, some of us might see that are really positive, really outgoing, maybe what we would maybe even refer to as over the top.
Yeah.
But I'll take that over the top positivity over negativity every day of the week.
Oh man, a positive attitude just completely changes the room, and so I really like that. And you're a huge proponent of making sure your attitude is right.
That's right.
So as we continue down this path of these memes and these famous quotes, we love to just give you inspiration. So thanks for listening to the Brainstorm. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Brainstorm with Matt and Mike. Again, we're here on this show today, and we're talking really about famous quotes and what we see. We see them all the time online. A lot of them, people will see them in memes and other types of ways that graphic designers will dress them up in some infographics and some brochures. And the people will look at a Mike and they'll say, oh, I like that quote. That's a good quote. But they don't really apply it in life. Right. They don't apply it in their business. They really just don't apply it at all. They just kind of pass it by.
Yeah.
And so what we wanted to do was kind of break those famous quotes down, and we wanted to dive deep in how they actually apply to your life, like life application and business application for the purposes of our show. All right, so we've had 3. Mike, I believe you're getting ready to ask another one.
Yes. All right, so Thomas Edison famously said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work.
Wow. Yeah, that's every single day of a business owner's life.
It's like an inventor.
And a business executive life, because, John Maxwell also has a quote like that sometimes you win and sometimes you learn.
Yeah, even wrote a book.
And so there's a ton of different people that kind of take that premise and that theory and turn it. But it is perfect, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to look at in a winning or learning perspective and look at it as a failure,
right,
or a losing perspective. And so, that's the whole premise of this quote and and what you see out there is you never want to think of yourself as, well, I missed that one. What you want to look at is, I learned from that one. Here's what I can do next time. Here's what the adjustments need to be made. Here's those things. And you can apply this in almost every type of business in every type of way. Certainly an inventor and a manufacturer has done this many, many times. But a services guy, right?
Inventing your service line.
Let's just say you're a customer service person, right? Or you're a plumber, an HVAC, some type of home services type of company. Somebody calls in, you didn't quite answer the phone with a good positive attitude. Well, there's something to learn from that, because all of a sudden you probably got a negative review. They were rude to me on the telephone, or they didn't give me the information I was looking for on a timely basis.
Or they called somebody else.
They called someone else. I didn't even win the job. So, you learn from those situations. And most of the time, just like Thomas Edison here said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Most of the time, before you find one good, perfect time, you're going to go through about 10,000 ways that it won't work in order to get there.
That's right.
So that's good stuff. All right. Hey, let's talk about Vince Lombardi. Vince Lombardi, a lot of people, especially in the sports field and sports world, definitely knows who he is. The national symbol of success, really, in the area of football. Green Bay Packers head coach and winner of Super Bowl I and II. And so Vince Lombardi had a great quote: "The difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength, not a lack of knowledge, but rather a lack of will."
Yeah, it kind of goes back to that very first one we talked about, success being dressed in overalls.
Yeah.
It's real desire. A lot of people say they want success. They just kind of want it. They don't want it like really bad. They're not like really passionate about it. Because when you want real success, you're going to have to sacrifice something. You're going to sacrifice buying the more expensive car today that you could have gotten in that secure job if you're trying to start a new business, or you're going to have to sacrifice time with friends or with family. There's lots of things you're going to sacrifice today for what you might want.
And all those things sound easy. But when you just hear someone else talk about them, like our listeners, viewers, they hear you talk about sacrifice, right? They sound, I'll sacrifice, right? Until you have actually walked through those valleys of business and valleys of life, you don't understand how hard some of those sacrifices are. Yeah. Like when you invest everything in a business and it just doesn't immediately start returning, and you lose their house in foreclosure, or you lose your cars in repossession.
Or you just drive a junky car.
Or you just drive a junky car. You go without food and without, we're talking a lot of businesses out there really, really, truly sacrifice.
That's right.
At the deepest level possible. But a lot of those same businesses
reap the biggest rewards later.
Exactly.
So another famous quote is, you can pay now and play later. Yeah. Or you can play now and pay later. You're going to pay and you're going to play at some point.
Right, because it has a cost.
When you want it. You want it now or you want it later.
Right.
And so the longer you wait, the better it is.
And so, sacrifices are big sacrifices at times, but so can the reward. And you might not have this massive payday one day, right, to where that reward is like $5 million or $20 million or something of that nature.
Different for everybody.
The reward might simply be building a successful company for a long, long period of time. That's a pretty big reward right there.
Yeah,
so that will last. That's good stuff. All right.
You ready for the next one?
Yeah, man.
All right. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe, by Abe Lincoln.
And I don't think
I need to explain who Abe Lincoln is.
Yeah, no.
You don't know who Abe Lincoln is?
Yeah.
You need to go to Google.
Read something. Yeah, read anything.
Yeah.
Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend their first 4 sharpening the axe. I love that. There's another little saying out there that's like, measure twice, cut once.
That's right.
Right? So if you're prepared and you have the tools that you need, and you think through and you create that strategy around your business, figure out who it is that you're targeting, who it is, what's your message, all of that type of stuff, then you won't waste a bunch of money advertising your message or trying to attract the right people. That's one way of looking at it. If you need to find the right employees or the right team, right, then try to figure out what the hole is in your organization, what needs to be done, And then you can spend a lot less time attracting that team member, right? That's another way of looking at it. There is a ton of ways to apply that, but the key is being prepared.
Yeah,
being prepared, right? And so I'll also like this. This is a good one. When people are talking about speaking engagements, there's people out there. I think it might have been Les Brown. I'm not sure that first said it, but I know I've heard it from a lot more people since then. But it was like, hey, listen, if you give me an hour, I'm ready right now. You give me an hour to explain who I am and what I do,
yes, right.
I'm ready right now. You give me 30 minutes, that I have a speaking engagement for 30 minutes, I can speak for 30 minutes. You're going to have to give me an hour or so to compose my thoughts and that type of stuff, right? If I only have 2 minutes or even 5 minutes, I'm going to need a couple of days.
Right.
Because I have to prepare and try to figure out the most precise way of saying who I am and what I do, right? It's all in that preparedness. And so I love that quote. All right, here's one from one of the richest people of all time.
Yeah, maybe a little less rich these days.
There's been some economic market crashes recently. But I'm sure that'll all rebound very quickly.
Yeah. He's still in good shape.
He's still fine. Warren Buffett's who we're talking about. Here's his quote. Someone's sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for every gift, there is a giver. So if someone's the recipient, the beneficiary of the gift, there was someone who planted long ago. So that way that person could, in this case, sit in the shade. And so to me, it's a constant reminder to always look back and think of those who went before you and did things, sacrificed to allow you to be where you're at today.
Yeah, I like that.
So if you have a business, and you went to college, or you had food on the table as a kid, you had a coach that put their arm around you and gave you some good advice. There's so many people in everyone's life throughout their journey that have poured into them in some way, some more significant or seemingly more significant than others, that help shape your opportunities and who you are to allow you to be where you're at. And
yeah, no doubt. And it goes.
No one's self-made.
Exactly. No, everybody has a team behind them. If you look at sports and you look at individual sports like golf, a golf professional, Tiger Woods, I mean, he's got a huge team of people. Right. He's got his caddy, he's got his swing coach, he's got his just general coach. He's got a huge team
Probably
of people.
A
nutritionalist, chiropractor. I mean, he's got all kinds of people that's own Team Tiger Woods.
That's right.
Right, and every golfer like that. And so everywhere you see an individual, you just don't see their team sometimes, but there is a huge team that's providing for them. And it goes a little bit with the Abe Lincoln quote about preparedness, right? Like if you want great things to happen for generations to come, then start today.
It's our responsibility to plant some of those trees.
Absolutely.
Today.
Let's plant the trees today, and then you can make that happen later on, right? Within your own organization is the same thing. Like we want a great end result for clients 2-3 years from now, then we have to make sure we get our process right today. So that's good stuff.
You want a great culture within your organization? It starts with today.
Right, absolutely.
All right,
here's another one. Mike, I know a lot of your boys have played baseball. So this person here, Babe Ruth, actually said, yesterday's home runs don't win today's games.
Yeah, exactly. And so, to me, we can't just sit on our past successes and ride them like we're on cruise control. Today's a new day. If we hit a home run yesterday, whether that's the new sale, landed the new, employee that you wanted, the star employee, whatever it is, you can't just sit around and celebrate. Yes, you should celebrate it, but you shouldn't continue to celebrate that forever. You need to work on the next win, the next home run, or the next single, or double, or triple. And so it's important that, yes, you celebrate the victories, but then you move on and go create the next victory.
That's right. Yeah, you put that, that's after you celebrate. And a lot of people don't take time to truly celebrate their victories today. Yep. Everybody's just wanting to go get another client or go do something next. So I love that you put so much emphasis on celebration portion, because that's important. But you are right. There comes a time where it's time to start.
Celebration's over.
Celebration's over. That was yesterday. Yeah. Let's start
What
today.
have you done for me lately?
Every client is like that. What have you done for me lately?
To add another thread to that, Matt, same thing for losses. If you have a loss, it's okay to feel it for a day.
Yeah.
Day or two, but then don't continue to mourn that loss. Move on.
That's right.
Because it will create more losses if you do. Mm-hmm. So just get positive and go chase the next day.
That's right. That's good wisdom right there from Mike White. You're listening to The Brainstorm with Matt and Mike. Welcome back to The Brainstorm with Matt and Mike. Today, again, we're going over famous quotes that you might have seen online or offline somewhere. We're going to kind of just turn those and twist those into an application-based quote, if you will, and apply it straight to your business. And I think you'll like that. So kind of stay with us here, and here we go. So just a minute ago, we were talking about a quote from Babe Ruth. I believe you got another one coming, Mike. What's the next quote? Yep.
All right, Peter Drucker says, follow effective action with quiet reflection. From the quiet reflection will come even more effective action. I'll read it one more time.
Okay, yeah.
Just to let it sink in here. Follow effective action with quiet reflection. From the quiet reflection will come even more effective action. Peter Drucker.
Peter Drucker, the famous Drucker theory, where he kind of came up and was the first one to say all management and all managers should actually be leaders. Mm-hmm. And that's what birthed the whole leadership movement, was the Drucker theory, in which a lot of people still use, including us, all the time. We definitely think everybody in an organization should be leaders, which is exactly what this quote's talking about. Follow effective action with quiet reflection. So you've done something, you've done it effectively, right? Now you're going to reflect on it, because every single thing can be done a little bit better, right? And so you can help more people by doing what? You can apply it in other types of forms of business by doing what? And so those are the questions that you're reflecting and you're trying to ask yourself. Plus, in some of that quiet reflection will come even more effective action. Why? Because you've been able to sit in a quiet and allow yourself to process, celebrate internally, think about it, and plan, if I was to expand what I was doing, I would be able to help more people. Or if I was able to put it in this type of target market, I would be able to help the pain points of some of those people that's looking at it. That's a great, deep leadership type of quote.
Yeah, it really
that you really can apply to your business.
I'd say, Matt, I would even add to that what Peter Drucker said and say, even follow ineffective action.
Yeah, no
with
doubt.
Quiet reflection. So we talk about, here we use kind of a military term, the after action review,
right?
Where it's we've done some type of exercise, whatever that is.
Yep.
And then you measure the outcome, and whether the outcome is what you wanted, it exceeded it, or it didn't hit the mark, you go back and say, what did I want to happen? What actually happened? What's kind of the gap in between, if there is one?
Yep.
And what do we need to adjust to make it more successful as we move forward?
So as an example in our business, Mike, can you think of an example where we were able to take an effective action, something that worked, we were able to kind of think about it and then make it even better for our clients?
Yeah, so we do that all the time. So, you think about, let's just talk about a social media campaign. Yeah. So we may take a message, and maybe it has video or, some type of GIF animation, and we're using that in some social media post and targeting a certain audience. And we may look, 2-3 weeks after we've ran this particular, I'll call it ad.
Yeah, sure.
And look at the metrics, and by kind of the standards that are produced and measured across digital marketing channels, it might produce a positive outcome.
Right.
It might be a good ROI, it might be a good click-through rate, conversion rate, all those things. But we may look at it and say, if we just segmented that audience a little more and personalized the message at a greater
in the segmented way, yeah.
Then maybe we're speaking directly to a very small audience,
right?
And did that for 4 or 5 or 6 micro audiences. we may then see that we can lift conversion even more.
Because it's more personalized to what their thoughts and
so it was already
needs
effective,
are. Yeah.
but we're going to go and continue to reiterate,
Make it even more effective.
make adjustments
It's a great example.
continue to lift the outcome.
Great example. Great example.
Yep.
All right, here's one. The great Dallas Cowboys quarterback, Roger Staubach, who actually won the Heisman in, I'm a huge football buff. He won the Heisman in ’63 from the Naval Academy.
Yeah, I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah.
Neither were you, actually.
Yeah, no, I wasn't, but I was not far from there. But he really kind of, from obviously people that were born then watching football back in those days, certainly knew who he was from the Heisman. But just the Dallas Cowboys years made him very well known.
That's right.
Great quarterback. So here's his quote that we came up with. There are no traffic jams along the extra mile.
Yeah, that's right. I remember years ago, Matt, during one of our annual retreats, we did a study. It's called 212, and some of the listeners, watchers, viewers
I love that.
probably heard this before, but it's going the extra degree, and it kind of means the same thing. It's and it talks about the temperature of water, and at 211 it
provides
hot
smoke.
water.
Yep.
I mean, it will
provide smoke, and
but at 212 it will boil water, and boiling water creates steam, and steam can power a train.
That's right.
And
got one extra degree.
Just going that extra degree in everything that you do, and essentially what I get where there's no traffic jams on, most people just want to take the shortcut.
Right.
Most people want to do the bare minimum.
Right.
Or like they said in that movie, the Office Space, the minimum pieces of flair.
The minimum flair.
I think it was Jennifer Aniston, right?
Yeah, I love that.
And so it's just going the extra mile. Go take the extra swings if you're in sports. Call that extra 4 or 5 customers or prospects instead of packing it up and hitting happy hour earlier or whatever it is. I mean, just go the extra mile.
Right.
Learn a little bit more, try a little harder every single day. And it's surprisingly, there's very few people that do that. And that right there can be the difference between winning big and being mediocre.
Hey, I'll give you a great example of this scenario here, that there are no traffic jams along the extra mile. If you look at starting a new job, you remember the first job that you've taken, right? And so think about that. If you were to get there 30 minutes before anybody else, like if you're supposed to start at 8, get there at 7:30, right? Yeah. Guaranteed you're one of the first people there, right? If you get off at 5, don't leave until 5:30, 5:45, maybe even 6 o'clock, right? Guarantee you're one of the last people to leave. I can guarantee you that in a shorter period of time, you will see success than those who do a phenomenal job from 8 to 5.
That's right.
Right? And because going the extra mile, there are no interruptions. There's no traffic jams, like Roger's saying. And that is more easily noticed, right? The people who need to notice much more easily notice those types of things.
Oh, yeah. The other thing about that, Matt, is since you're talking about arriving early and leaving a little late, the interesting thing is a lot of times, like you said, the traffic is cleared.
Yeah, the traffic.
So you might arrive wherever you're going pretty close to the same time.
Right.
But you're getting essentially another up to an hour of focused time that really
ultimately you're going to be more successful.
Oh, yeah.
I like it because when my daughter, who's now in her master's program, when she got her first job back in high school, it was just a lifeguard. And the head of lifeguards there at the local YMCA came and was doing their little opening speech to all of the lifeguards for the summer. And she says, I want you here 15 minutes ahead of time, and you're going to stay until 15 minutes and when you're supposed to knock off. And she said, because early is on time and on time is late, And I was like,
and late just don't come.
Right. Early is on time and on time is late. And I love that because what happens is when you get to work or when you get to wherever you're going, then it takes a little bit of time to kind of settle in and get in the groove. That means you're really late.
Yeah.
And you're not getting started. I'm telling you, there's no traffic there because a lot of people will try to cut the corners and won't even do the minimum. And then you have the group that'll do the minimum. And then you have the group that'll just do what they're supposed to do. We're talking about the extra mile. We're talking about the group of people who gets noticed, right? That's what your business should be. That's what your environment should be. All right, Mike, the coach of right now, he's the coach and has been the coach. He took over for the famous Dean Smith at Chapel Hill, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, is the basketball coach, Mr. Roy Williams. The first step in exceeding your customers' expectations is to know those expectations.
Yeah, it's, you got to know what you're aiming at, right? And so when you're talking really in any relationship, and a customer relationship is just that, it's a relationship. If you want it to last anyway, otherwise it's just a transaction. And transactional relationships are short-lived. And so, when you want to meet and then exceed that customer's expectations, step one is always make sure to take the time to understand what it is that they actually are aiming to achieve, what's important to them, what type of communication style do they prefer, do they have a deadline that needs to be hit, do they have a certain thing that they're aiming to accomplish, and making sure that you're on the same page, because you can think that you're doing great for someone and then they may think that you're not.
Right.
And you're not on the same page. And that all starts by not getting on the same page from day one.
Yeah, just understanding expectations.
And that's when things fall apart. You see it in every type of relationship.
Right.
I mean, it's in friendships and especially in romantic relationships, marriages. An example would be a husband or future husband and wife come together. They're all excited. They're in love. They walk down the aisle. They say, I do. They go off for the honeymoon. They come back, and they never unpack their expectation boxes. And she thinks we're going to live in a 2,000 square foot house with a white picket fence on 4 acres. And I'm going to stay home and we're going to have 14 kids and go to the Baptist church. And he's thinking we're going to live in the suburbs in a condo and so forth and so on.
Yeah, man. So you're listening to The Brainstorm with Matt and Mike. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to The Brainstorm with Matt and Mike. Again, I want to make sure that you know our website. Go to thebrainstormradio.com where you can download resources. You can subscribe to our podcast. You can watch the videos. You can get all types of resources. You can ask them some questions. Contact us. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you have and related to your business, to your organization, from leadership to culture, to marketing
Sales.
and advertising strategies, to sales. We had Freddie, our sales manager. We had Jared on the show a while back. We're going to definitely do another show with them again. They're excellent. A lot of times we'll bring clients on, we'll bring business owners on, we'll bring community leaders on our show, and we'll talk just about whatever it is that they lead, whether it's their organization or their community or chamber or something of that nature. We like doing that so our listeners and viewers can get some really good insight on application from their experiences.
Absolutely.
And so Mike and I have put together, Mike has put together a bunch of famous quotes, and we're breaking those down and trying to illustrate how they apply to your business and your organization. So I'm going to jump right back in.
You ready, Matt?
Yep. Well,
right.
I'm going to ask you this one.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you this one, Mike. This is a good one. I want to hear your take on this one.
Okay.
This was by Lisa Hayes. It says, be careful how you are talking to yourself because you are listening. The reason I wanted to ask you that is because you like to talk to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to ask you that question.
Maybe not quite as much as your bride.
Oh, man, let me tell you, my wife.
I think she's talking to me half the time. And
she's
says, I'm
just talking to herself. She got headphones on, talking to herself.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean, your self-talk is so powerful. It's such a conduit for how you're going to perceive yourself. And so you can hear positive and negative things externally from other folks, but no one talks to you as much as you do.
Right. There's no doubt about it.
And, when people get into a mode where they have some negative self-talk, I don't look good in this light, or, I'm just not as talented as those other people. Man, you really buy in on what you say to yourself. And so be careful of that. It's really important that you don't allow your own insecurities, negativities to continue to replay in your mind over and over and over again, because it will destroy your potential, your self-esteem, and reap havoc on your health. I mean, it's destructive.
It will, Mike. I'm going to give you an illustration of a little bit of some coaching experience that I have with local middle school basketball players, right? And so every year we always have some studs on this middle school basketball team. And first of all, it's amazing how much taller middle schoolers are today.
Well, they're all taller than me, Matt.
Man, let me tell you, some of those 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", and 14 years of age.
It's crazy.
And so it's crazy. But every year we have some really studs, some great ball handlers that can simply just ball. I mean, they're just good. But for some reason, it's always those studs that talk to themselves. You know, it might not be out loud, but they're definitely talking to themselves. And when they mess up, when they screw up, right?
Yep.
There's nothing that I can say or do to get them out of it. Like, they are done for the night. Like, you can't get them to leave it in the past. Yeah. You can't get them to put it behind them. They are literally done. And when they do something good, that doesn't last as long as when they do something bad. When they do something bad, dude, you can't get it out of their mind. It is on there for a long time. And so it can mess up a business if that's the type of personality you have working there. It can really bring, and what happens is when one person gets down,
it brings everybody down.
Everybody gets down because the mood changes. Everything shifts, right? The whole deal shifts.
You see it with sales folks all the time. And it's so much like that star athlete, those folks who are really, especially if they're used to winning, they're used to getting told yes.
Right.
The buy-in. When they hear no, or a client leaves because there was a mistake, or oftentimes to that business is really to no fault of their own. Yeah, it's still those athletes, those star sales folks, they wear it, right? And that's okay to feel it again, but don't feel it for too long, and don't let it define who you are. It's just a moment.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to ask you two back to back here.
Okay.
All right. So this is, again, Zig Ziglar. You answered a Zig Ziglar quote or applied a Zig Ziglar quote a little bit earlier in the show. Here's what he said again. Don't be discouraged. It is often the last key in the bunch that opens the lock. I love that. Yeah. I love that.
It's just keep going.
Yeah.
They might say no today. Met with one of our sales folks and now a client earlier today. And we met with what was a prospect that we met with 2 years ago, and we did a proposal for, and just where they were at in their business, the timing wasn't right.
Right.
The requirements budget-wise was just more than they were ready to take on, and who knew if they were going to come back? But we continued to stay in front of them. We continued to follow up periodically, and today they signed.
Nice.
And so it's you've got to keep going. You can't just give up.
Right.
So just because that first key doesn't open, it doesn't mean you don't try the second, the third, the 14th, the 32nd, the 200th, whatever it takes. Right. Because sooner or later, the key will open the door, and that's what you're after.
Yeah. No, I love that because there's the theory of consistency, and you just have to make sure that you just keep getting after it over and over and over. That's a really good quote by obviously someone who understands how to motivate people, Zig Ziglar, and he was really, really good at it.
Yeah,
there's no doubt, one of the best.
Another one of the best that you mentioned earlier, Matt, is but we haven't read a quote from him yet, so I'm going to bring one out.
All right,
and so you can answer this one.
Okay,
for
it's a prize quote.
Les Brown.
Okay, I love Les Brown.
He's famous for saying you got to be hungry.
Talking about motivating people, he can motivate you.
He is, man. He'll get you on fire, ready to run through a brick wall. But he says, too many of us are not living our dreams because we're busy living our fears.
Ah, no doubt. Fear is this paralysis-like feeling that when you fear whatever it is, just like you can't move. It's like you're running in, and I know you always laugh when I say this. It's always like you're running
peanut butter, aren't you?
You're always running in peanut butter, man. Yeah. Imagine how hard it would be to run in peanut butter. That's what I think of fear is, and I get like that. I mean, everybody is guilty of this, right? At times, fear of not being good enough, fear of not understanding what it is that you're talking about enough. Like, oh my gosh, I don't understand it. I'm not. Fear of not being the professional of the room, right? Not being the one that knows it all, right?
Fear of judgment.
Fear of judgment. It's fear. There's always some type of fear that can just paralyze you, and therefore you're living the fear because you're not moving forward. You're not actually making progress.
Matt, when I was a kid, I used to have this fear. of quicksand. And I'd be playing on a playground or whatever, and I would think that there was this quicksand. And obviously now it's ridiculous, right? Like, I'm really not going to step in sand. Have you ever seen quicksand?
I've never actually personally seen quicksand. No.
Right. And so it's, there's fear, false evidence appearing real.
Right.
And so that's what it is. It's things that we allow to, if we're not careful, to, destroy who we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to accomplish, all out of false evidence.
Yeah.
Things that aren't real. And so just like that quicksand.
Yep.
It's, am I going to be judged if I get on that stage and speak in front of someone? Am I going to get, is that girl for that, high school boy that wants to ask the girl to the prom?
Right.
She's going to say no. I mean, just go out there and give it a go.
There is one fear that really cracks me up, right? And that is your wife actually ended up being caught in a tornado
she was in high school.
25, 30 years ago, right? Maybe longer than if it was high school. And so about, 30 years, maybe 25 years ago.
Yeah, probably about 20.
25
She's probably
years.
Listening, and she's probably...
Oh, okay, about 10 years ago.
Her
about
calculator's
10 years
going.
ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she was caught in a tornado in high school.
She was.
And so now, so you're always the first...
She had a building collapse all around her. She hit under a desk.
Yeah, I mean, this thing was catastrophic. And...
There's been many occasions, Matt, I've come home and my family is
that's what
in
cracks
the closet
me up.
under the
So you're the
stairs.
first person I call whenever
and
there's
I'm outside watching the storm.
Just a little wind kicks up, and so I always
hard hats on.
I'm FaceTiming Mike so I can see his kids in the closet with hard hats on, man. There's a little fear that provides me a little comedic relief. Yeah. So that's good, man. But fear, it really listen. Just because you don't have everything doesn't mean you don't go out there and try it, right? And so John Maxwell always says, hey, listen, develop your wings on the way down. Jump and develop your wings on the way down. Don't let fear keep you from moving your business forward, right? From people perspective, from a product's perspective.
Taking a chance,
man, and just keeping it going.
The idea that you're going to be fearless is impossible, but you can fear less.
I like that. That. Hey, thanks for listening to us on The Brainstorm with Matt and Mike. Again, go to thebrainstormradio.com. Check us out. Check out our all of our podcast subscriptions, our resources, our videos, and ask us a question. Thanks for listening today on The Brainstorm with Matt and Mike.